For this video, I'm going to take a look at the Simeone Foundation Automotive Museum located in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Well, I've been to quite a few car museums over the years now, and this is certainly one of the more unique ones that I've ever seen. Now, when it comes to the size of the collection, it's not all that big. They have about 75 cars here according to the website. It's nowhere near as large as like the Classic Car Museum in Tallahassee, Florida, or Deezerland in Orlando, which has, I think, somewhere like 600, 800 cars, something crazy. They're definitely not going for that. However, the historical significance of their collection is incredible. The other thing that's interesting about this particular collection is, like Deezerland, they would just have like random, cars that they don't make any sense for some of their collections. Like they had like, the modern like Ford Thunderbirds, and I think they owned every like color of like the modern Thunderbirds, the ones that made in the early 2000s. But those like 2005 era Thunderbirds aren't particularly rare or collectible, at least at the moment, if you look at their resale values. So a lot of those exhibits at Deezerland were kind of head scratchers, because you would go to certain rooms and the cars were kind of like jalopies. They weren't really rare or collectible, and it was mostly kind of just a rich guy who's almost like a kleptomaniac, because some of the stuff that he bought just didn't make sense. Compared to here at the Simeone, this is, laser focused on really rare European classic cars and sports cars. They actually own a lot of race cars that competed in things like Le Mans and Nuremberg and all the famous legendary racetracks over in Europe. So if you're looking for European race cars with just an amazing racing heritage, pedigree, that kind of stuff, then this place is definitely one of the best that I've ever seen. However, I will say this: if you are looking for American cars, the domestics like the Fords and the Chevys and the Dodges, it's very thin. They do have some GT40s from Ford. They had, I think, 2 or 3 Corvettes, and they had a Plymouth Superbird. I think that was the only Mopar in the entire collection. So if you're there for like American muscle, they don't have it. And if you're a big fan of domestics and not a fan of European cars, then this collection probably wouldn't interest you. Now, that previous comment of mine is related to the fact that there's not a lot here from the current big 3 automakers. However, they do have quite a few domestic cars from defunct automakers. Like they had a Accord, I believe they had multiple Duesenbergs, there was an Auburn, and several cars built by Stutz. And my particular favorite was the Accord. I just love the lines of those cars, especially with the retractable headlights. If you're looking for some of those really, really obscure domestic cars, they do have them here. One of the things that I'll point out about this particular museum too is the location. I had a layover at the Philadelphia International Airport, and I was looking for something to do to spend a couple hours. This museum is located like right down the street. I think it's only about 2 miles from the airport. So if you've got like a 6 or 8 hour layover in Philadelphia, then this is a great way to spend it. It's just a wonderful attraction for car enthusiasts. So the admission price for this particular museum runs about $15 for adults. And, if you're really into cars, you can definitely get a couple hours out of this particular museum. The building is absolutely cavernous. It's huge, but it does feel a little hollow because, like I said, they don't have a lot of cars. They just have a lot of significant cars. They didn't pack this place with a bunch of, like, basic transportation, daily driver kind of cars like Deezerland. Everything here is historically significant, and in 2018, this particular museum was actually rated the second greatest car collection in the entire world by a consulting agency known as the Classic Car Trust. And I totally get where they're coming from, because just walking around this place, I mean, I've been to hundreds, if not thousands, of car museums and car shows over the years, classic car cruises, that kind of stuff. Like 90% of what's here, I've never seen in person before in my entire life. So what's my bottom line for the Simeone Museum? I would highly recommend it for people who just want to see really rare racing cars. It's definitely one of the best collections of European racing cars I've ever seen. If you want to see really rare Ferraris, Alfa Romeos, and BMWs and those type of cars, I don't think you're going to find a museum better than this one. If you're looking for the domestic cars that are from defunct brands, I think it's also a good place to go. If you're looking for JDM sports cars, the ones from Japan, they have almost nothing here. I think there might be a Nissan. I think that's the only car from the entire collection, so you probably can skip this museum if that's your area of interest. The same for if you're only a fan of like Chevy or Ford or Mopar. That's very limited here. I mean, like I said, I think there's only the one Mopar. It's a Superbird. I think they had like 2 Corvettes, so nothing to really call a home about for that. The Ford guys might be kind of happy with this place because of the GT40s, but it's still pretty thin. It's definitely not their focus. So that pretty much wraps up all my thoughts about the Simeone Foundation Automotive Museum. For the rest of this video, I'm just going to play some music to complete the tour. Thanks for joining me on this tour of the Simeone Foundation Automotive Museum. If you enjoyed this vlog of the Adventure Schmuck, don't forget to like and subscribe.